They turned face, by the way, after 3 months after we tried to turn them heel, and they beat the fuck out of us in New Orleans because nobody wanted to boo the Road Warriors, so they just had to get them back in the right place.
Well, I was going to say, is the fans kind of have they dictate sometimes, and you've just got to kind of go with what they're doing.
It was ludicrous to think anybody was going to boo the Road Warriors, so they just got them back where they should be.
Were they better faces or heels?
Well, they were, the Road Warriors, they got over, they had to be heels first. They were heel in 1983 when they first, they had to be heels because you couldn't be the Road Warriors and sell and make comebacks. You had to be the unstoppable heel force that went out and really legitimately beat the piss out of every job guy and everybody in front of you for the first couple of years to establish the fact that the Road Warriors are this unstoppable team, and that's why people cheered them. It was a case of Steve Austin, but with spikes. So they had to be heels first, but once that they were being universally cheered, and then they came to work for Crockett in '85, by then they were firmly baby faces, and that was the challenge, was to work with the Road Warriors, who were still green in the mid-'80s, and, you know, potatoes were flying. You know, I wrote a Christmas song about that, too, one time, and we would sing in the car, diving through the ropes to get out of the fucking way, here they come again, taters all the way, ha ha ha, you know, and shit like that. But if you notice, all the big drawing matches the Road Warriors had were against the Midnight Express or Tully and Arn, small bumping heels that could feed them and bump off them and call the match and let them do their power moves and be flummoxed and, you know, bumfuzzled about the whole thing. And what do we do? And then get a little heat, because Hawk especially would say, both of them would sell at the right time. And then they make the big comeback, and Hawk was, you know, always with the leaping shoulder and the standard comeback and everything. But when they tried to put him against the Powers of Pain, the Barbarian and Warlord, or a team like the Samoan SWAT team where they were as big and strong, and that didn't draw. That didn't work, because then you've got a rock fighting a rock. It has to be rock, paper, scissors, right? It can't just be all the time, or what the fuck have you got? And that's especially the Midnight and Tully and Arn. The dynamic was, these little fucking insufferable pricks, the Road Warriors, are going to kill them. And that's the whole reason why Skywalker's match at Starrcade '86 drew, was because the people legitimately wanted to see the Road Warriors throw us all off scaffold and kill us. Right. And so, you know, so anyway, the Road Warriors, it was impossible for them to get over by starting as baby faces, because that would have ruined the whole thing, because they would have showed vulnerability. But then it was impossible for them to be heels after they showed that they were invulnerable, because who cheers against Superman? Right. But then you had to find some way, and once again, they'd sell the racket. They'd sell the shit out of the Animal would hit the ropes. I ruined more rackets on them guys, because Animal would hit the ropes and I would whack him and it would sound like pow, like a rifle shot, and he would go down like he'd been shot, and I'd look at my racket and he was so big and so hard. The same thing with Hawk. The racket would be bent. I used to throw rackets away every 2 weeks we were working with them. Wow. Should have saved them. I could sell them now. But that's the thing. And then finally, after a while, it got to be the Road Warrior problem, because they never did a job. And then after a while, it was like, well, it was the same thing as the Sheik. The 7-year run in Toronto, right, from '67 to '74. The Sheik drew more money than almost any heel in history, probably, over a period of time, but especially in Toronto. During that 7 years, the Sheik never did a job, never lost a fucking match, and shows with the Sheik in Toronto every 2 weeks averaged over 10,000 people. If Sheik wasn't on the card, it might be half that. But then when Andre the Giant in 1974 made his first North American tour around, and it was Andre versus the Sheik, the people in Toronto, it sold out. They're like, somebody's going to finally beat this motherfucker. Right. 3 minutes in, he throws a fireball, Andre catches it in the face, rolls out and gets counted out. Sheik still wins, killed the fucking town. Because now it's just gone too far. Right. So at some point in the late 80s, 89, 90 there, it got to the point where nobody's ever going to beat these guys. Nobody ever puts them in jeopardy. And so it was like, it's a foregone conclusion. The Road Warriors are going to win. We don't need to watch. We know what's going to happen. But I will say this for them, jumping ahead before we get to the next part. When they did in 1990 give notice and decide to go north, the Midnight Express was the only team they did a job for. We were in Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum. and it was supposed to be a DQ, or maybe we were even going to put them over or whatever the fuck, and they went and said, no, fuck it. It's Memphis. You guys came from here. We're leaving. You've done stuff for us. I remember Hawk saying this, we're going to put you guys over. Of course, they did it with every goddamn, there was a table in the ring, and there was distraction and hand grenades and rackets, and Ellering's running around, and they beat us up afterwards and everything. But 1, 2, 3 right in the middle of the ring, and the office got hot because they changed a finish, even though they put the other team over. So the next night in St. Louis, they came up with a finish where they still wouldn't beat the Midnight Express. They had Ellering pin me, and we weren't even in the match. But that was, they gave us a show of respect, which I'll always be grateful to them. On the way out, we were the only ones they did a job for.